Discipline was now the captain's greatest challenge. With the circumstances at hand, extreme measures became necessary to maintain control. Selfish desires could not be tolerated, not on a mission where every man's life depended on the other. At this late stage, replacing a member of the detachment was a risk too great to take. The question loomed large. Could this fragile band of recruits withstand the test before them?
Bring forth the accused. Court, stand at attention.
The judgment considers overwhelming evidence against the men charged of their actions, which made the verdict of a court-martial assured. The captains, to be fully prepared for any outcome or trouble from the men, placed loaded pistols on the table in full view.
Sergeant Ordway, read the charges against the accused.
Private John Shields and Private John Coulter willingly and with desirous intent threaten the life of the captains assigned in the execution of their duties.
Very well. The verdict will be read tomorrow at evening formation. Sergeant Ordway, take charge and dismiss the court.
Attention in the court. Shoulder, arms, left, face. Court is dismissed. March.
I am concerned for the morale of the Corps. Threatening Sergeant Ordway's life is unacceptable, and as of yet, I haven't seen any remorse from these men.
That is true. But at the same time, as you and I well know, we all have our transgressions.
I do believe we need to establish a strong precedent for discipline, but there are factors to consider.
I just wish we didn't have to make this type of decision so early in the endeavor.
Attachments, attention! Shoulder, firelock! Forward, march!
The two commanders were reluctant to pass judgment on the two men they viewed as having great potential and possibly invaluable to the success of the expedition. Who and where would they find replacement at this late date? They can't afford to forgo judgment, nor can they continue to postpone and delay the enterprise. Success wavers in the balance.
Sir, the detachments are formed and are awaiting your orders.
Thank you, Sergeant. Do the accused have anything to say for themselves prior to the verdict being read?
Yes, sir, we do. We wish to beg for the mercy and forgiveness of the captains. We beg for the forgiveness of Sergeant Ordway.
We know that we did wrong and promise to do better in the future.
So be it. The commanders note the sincerity of the accused. Without any further disobedience to the orders of the captains or their assigns, without any further drunkenness or disorderly conduct, charges shall be dropped against the accused. Charges dropped. Sergeant Ordway, take command of the detachment.
The captains have been in the military long enough to understand disagreements among men happen, which often end in fights with subsequent charges being brought. Lewis himself had a previous disagreement with his superior officers that led to an altercation. If it hadn't been for a certain lieutenant, now good friend William Clark, who gave him a second chance, he too might have faced a court-martial with a disgrace that most certainly would have changed his future and that of the current expedition.
Here for a drink?
Please. It's been a long day. I could use a drink.
That it has. It's been a long 2 weeks.
I hope those two men shape up. Normally I'd drum men like that right out of the Corps.
Agreed. But we just can't afford to lose men like that at this point.
Agreed. Necessity dictates that we give them a second chance.
And they did seem genuine, so...
I agree. Genuine as two men I've ever had on trial.
In the days following the trial, the captains each noticed a change in attitude of not only the men who stood trial, but also the men who make up the balance of the permanent party. They took note of the interactions. Instead of arguing, they began compromising. Instead of bickering, they were complimenting and listening. Finally, as the journey is about to begin, the captains experience a welling sense of satisfaction they've been striving for in the detachment. In one compelling example of proof to the captains, it happened one afternoon when the men from the country came back to challenge the men of the party to another shooting match. Clark noted in his journal with a sense of satisfaction and pride, Clark knew they were ready. They were becoming a team, a core group of hand-picked men with an eye on a mission, an expedition of discovery. After discussing the past day's events, the captains knew a decision regarding the selection of men for the permanent party was quickly approaching. On the 31st of March, 1804, Captain Meriwether Lewis and Captain William Clark held a ceremony to enlist 25 of the soldiers, including the 2 previously accused, that had been chosen for an expedition to penetrate to the interior of the continent of North America.
On this day, we promote the following persons to sergeant: John Ordway, Charles Floyd, and Nathaniel Pryor. The captains have determined fit that the permanent party will be divided into 3 messes under the command of each sergeant. Therefore, the party will consist of 22 privates, 3 sergeants, 2 captains, Drouillard, York, and Seaman. Sergeant Ordway, take charge and dismiss the men.
Detachments, attention. Detachments, dismiss. Huzzah!
It was a total of 29 men that constituted the makeup of the permanent party, the core of discovery, an expedition that would in time change a young nation and how it was perceived in the world order. As Private Gass noted in his journal,
"We are to pass through a country possessed by numerous, powerful, and warlike nations, of gigantic stature, particularly hostile to white men, but the determined and resolute character of the men and the confident swelling above the ranks dispelled every emotion of fear."
Sergeant Ordway provides a snapshot of their mission and his feelings in one of his final letters home to his parents.
"We are to ascend the Missouri River with a boat as far as it is navigable, and then to go by land to the Western Ocean, if nothing prevents. This party consists of 25 picked men of the Army and country, and I am so happy as to be one of them picked men."
After the ceremony, the men felt a new purpose to their everyday existence, realizing they would encounter adventures others could only dream of and few would ever experience. Anxious for the day of their departure, they searched the waters beyond their current station to wonder what lies beyond the horizon, what awaits them, and what their fate would hold.